Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you're doing well. I'm Bernardo, and welcome to Career Insights, where we provide and help career driven professionals advance their career. If you're new here and you're watching me for the first time, feel free to subscribe. I'm always providing content related to career advancement and also interviewing various different senior executives and experts on their career journey to be able to share their insights. So if you're just joining us, feel free from whether it's Twitter, YouTube, or Insta. Actually, not Instagram. It's Twitter. Twitter or Facebook. Actually, I have to think about where you're joining me from. Feel free to let me know where you're joining me from. Actually, where are you signing in from? When not necessarily whether it's YouTube, but like where are you located? Sorry, I'm a little bit fumbly. I'm a little rusty. It's been towards the end of the year and now at the beginning of this year, and so hopefully you had a great holiday. And today, one of the things I wanted to really share with you is just kind of keep this casual. There's going to be several points that I'm going to be covering in regards to how to manage and identify behaviors that you're looking to change, or habits. Most people put it under New Year's resolutions as to what you're trying to accomplish. It's a little bit of an average of both. And I'd like for this to be very interactive. So like I said before, feel free to put in the comment section where you're joining me from. And if you have any questions along the way, just feel free to ask. That's what I'm here to do, is be able to help answer any questions that you specifically have. So why don't we get started? And let me just kind of go into just a couple of things that I think would be very helpful for us to start off this conversation. The first is, the other disclaimer I'll have is, if you see my eye shifting, is I'm trying to control this panel as well as looking directly at you. If you've just joined, whether you're from Twitter or Facebook or on YouTube, please just enter where you're joining from altogether. The goal here is to kind of share insights, hi there, from New York, around just being able to provide you some details as to how to set you up for success this year in 2021. And like I said, this is a conversation. This is not just a lecture, which I'm pretty much used to doing, but I like for it to be somewhat interactive. So the first step is, when you're thinking about 2021 and this year, you want to think about what exactly is it, not that you want to, but ask yourself, what do you want to get out of this particular year? I know last year was definitely an unprecedented year with the pandemic, and I'm sure you probably had plans, whether it's travel or anything else, and clearly that didn't go the way you wanted it to. So hopefully this year we have a more optimistic outlook as to things that we can do this year, whether it's your career, whether it's finances, whether it's health. So think about specifically, what would you like to be able to accomplish this year? And when you're thinking about that particular space, also think about what exactly is it that will help you to be able to meet those particular goals. So being able to create a list that's free from limitations. And what I mean by that is, many times we set goals up that really have constraints on it, whether it's financial, economical, financial or family or environmental, I should say. And so one of the things to think about when you are creating your list that you want to accomplish this year is thinking about those items as if you had nothing else to worry about. And the reason why I say that is because some of those ideas may not necessarily come to fruition this year. It may take a couple of years to get to that, depending on what your specific goals look like. And so the reason why I mentioned that is because one of the things that you want to think about, or you may want to consider, is when you're laying out these goals, and one of the reasons why New Year's resolutions and habits don't stick, like for example, dieting, is because many times for example, if we want to lose weight in 30 days, like 20 pounds, that's a very big toll. Some people can do it, but maintaining it is something that's completely different. And so when you're thinking about this year and the habits that you're looking to change, and in the comments section, if you're just joining me, just enter what habits are you looking to change, or what is your New Year's resolutions, or what your goals are. And we can talk through some of those examples. But one that comes to mind is, I have a really good friend that every time I see her, she's always losing 20 pounds. And not that she needs to, by the way, but it's something that she has always says to me that she wants to focus on. And the reason why I bring that up is because, let's take that example. If you're looking to lose 20 pounds, forcing yourself to try to lose it in a short period of time, it's torturous. You don't want to do that. And someone who's struggled with weight my whole life, I know that's not something that is easily done within 30 days. It can happen. But instead, you want to do is kind of the model that I specifically work with my clients and teach my students is the WBM model, which is the work backwards model. So keep the end in mind and think about, in December 2021, what does the world look like for you? I'm hoping that the world is a lot more ability to be able to travel and enjoy, being able to eat out. But that's what you want to think about. What does the world look like to you? Just bear 1 second with me. I just want to do one thing. So just 1 second. Apologize. Sorry about that. I have a little one here that tends to get a little restless. So what I was getting back to is in regards to keeping the end in mind. So what does December 2021 look like? And this goes not only for this year, but any goals that you have decided that you want to set up for yourself. Let's say you want to start a business. When do you want to launch that business? Or you want to change jobs? When do you want to change those jobs? So these are things that are habits that you're going to have to change to be able to get to that particular outcome. So let's just say job change, for instance. If you're looking to change a job, you have to think about the ebbs and flows of recruitment. Now, there's hiring that happens throughout the year, but there are peaks. Like right now in Q1 is where budgets get released. And so new jobs get posted like crazy and they start to make offers. Many times they already have somebody in mind. And that's because people have networked Q4 of last year for that job in Q1. The other area that I would say, for example, is bonus time. So most people get bonuses either January, February, March, sometimes April, that's a little late, and they're ready to leave that job to go somewhere else. So vacancies start to happen around that time frame as well. So usually in Q1 and Q4 is where jobs tend to open up and hiring tends to happen within the Q2, Q4 time frame. The point I'm making is that whatever is it that you're looking to do this year, you also want to think about the time frame and how long it's going to be able to take place. So when you're thinking about making any sort of change, that's something that's very critical. I want to stop for a second because I know there's a few of you watching. Didn't know if you had any questions in the meantime in regards to what I was just referencing. If you do, feel free to put them in the chat. If not, I will just continue on speaking. All right, nothing there yet. So the other thing when we're thinking about the habits that you're trying to change, and like I said, I'm going in parallel with what you're trying to do for this year, there's always going to be self-doubt when you're trying to change a habit or change a behavior that you're looking to do. So let's just say public speaking, that's one of your goals this year. And it's not something that most people are comfortable doing. I know I certainly wasn't when I first started out. When I first started out speaking publicly and speaking to the camera actually is taking me quite some time to get used to. But when I first started speaking publicly, I thought when I was speaking out loud that I sounded really, really loud. And it turned out, thank God I had people who gave me feedback. What I thought was a 10 was really a 2. Like the volume was really, really low. And so one of the things that I found was that getting into this area of being uncomfortable is extremely rewarding and important if you're looking to change the habit that you're trying to make. And it takes some time. Now, along the way, you get uncomfortable being out in public, speaking. I've spoken to people, around 3,000 people. And if I tried to do that tomorrow, you have to kind of get warmed up. But before I continue, I have a couple of questions that I'm hearing here. So how often should you revisit your goals and modify them? Let me just put this up. Let's see if I can put this up. No, I can't. So one of the your goals, if you're doing yearly goals, you should be looking at them every quarter or every 6 months. And the reason why you want to revisit the goals is because there's things that happen in life, and sometimes you're not able to get to or something happens that you realize you can't get to that particular goal, or as you're striving to get to that goal, you realize you really don't want it. And sometimes that happens, and that's okay. And that goes back to this point of having that being common for that self-doubt. You sometimes question yourself, is this really what you want to do? There's always that saying, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you get what you wish for and then you're like, I don't know if I really want this anymore. And then you change your mind. And that's okay, by the way. Another question is, I plan to consider the vision and the work backwards. Yes. So the working backwards is extremely, this is what I do with, like I said, with students and with clients. And it feels awkward, by the way, many times. And I'll talk a little bit about the actual book that I'll cover as well, that I'll give you for free so that you can also use, an ebook, I should say, is the fact that many times what happens is when we are thinking about our goals and working towards those goals is identifying what exactly we want to be able to focus on. And as a result of that, when you're going through that path, being able to take a step back and identify how can you actually accomplish those goals. So what I mean by that is, let's say you want to, in 5 years, buy a home. You want to be a homeowner. You want to work backwards as to, okay, where are you going to live? And this is what I'm saying, like it becomes a visualization exercise that most people don't feel comfortable with. And it's one of the other reasons why I say, when you write your goals, let it be free of financial obligations or environmental obligations, because then and only then will you realize, are these the goals that you really want to accomplish, whether it's this year or several years down the road. And in that example about getting your home, let's say 5 years down the road, by the time 5 years come down the road, we naturally then start to think about, okay, now where do we go? Where am I going to move? And if you think about now, dreaming about where that home would look like, what street is it on? What state is in? What country it's in? What does it look like? Is it a small home, a big home? Is it 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom? Well, that would be an apartment, I guess. But you know what I mean? And so what I'm getting at is, by allowing that visualization, then you can start actually now looking at real estate in this example around what does the properties look like, and then do some research or even future developments. And then by the time the 5 years are up, and again, this is an example, you would have had enough money and you would know exactly where you want to move to. So that's why I think working backwards is an ideal state, and not everyone feels comfortable with that visualization exercise. I do have clients that don't like it. They can't allow themselves to imagine. And I think that's the part that takes time and practice. There's no right or wrong, by the way. This is your life. But ultimately, that's something that's really important. Another question that comes into managing self-doubt and the imposter syndrome. That's the other part when we talk about the self-doubt. It's those little voices in our head that are like, you can't do it, you're not going to succeed. And some of those voices are voices that are self-imposed because we don't feel confident in our ability to execute. And it's not because we don't believe in ourselves, it's a matter of practice. And so when you're talking about managing self-doubt or the imposter syndrome, there are a couple of things. And that actually is perfect segue into my fifth point, which is you have to have an open mind. If you're looking to have a behavioral change in yourself, having an open mind is extremely important. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. You're going to go through this cycle. And then the other is leading with positive thinking. And when I say positive thinking, I'm not talking about, I had a guest, we were talking about toxic positivity or something like that. And I'm not talking about other people enforcing their positivity on you. It's words that you use to affirm that you're going to make something happen. And that, again, takes practice and time. So if I start off, let's just say I want to fly a plane, learn how to fly a plane, for example, and I'm scared, I've never done it before. If I start off by saying like, I'm not going to be able to do it, it's going to be very difficult, it's too costly, I've already set up myself for failure. And that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's a concept that exists, such as confirmation bias. So when you start to think about what you're looking to do and you start to already start with the negative and lead with the negative, then you're never going to overcome whether it's the self-doubt or that imposter syndrome. And this is where I think it becomes very critical to have a support system around you to help when you go into that self-doubt. We all do. And so by having that support system and surrounding yourself by people who will help lift you, it will help you move on. The other part as well, when you think about imposter syndrome, it's taking baby steps. And that's what this whole concept is about that we're talking about today. Is it's all about baby steps when you're changing your behavior and also when you're setting goals for yourself. Many and you probably hear it on TV now that we kicked off the new year, many people fail with anything that they commit to because it's so overwhelming. And so going back to the example of like losing weight, for instance, if I wanted today to lose 20 pounds, the way it should work is that by the end of December, I should have lost 20 pounds. And then by September, I would have lost 15. And then by, let's say, by June, July, 10. And then by March, April, 5. And as you can see, it's palatable to have lost the weight, because if I'm going to lose 5 pounds, that's 5 pounds, right? Although for some people it's a lot hard to do, but we won't get there. But what's 5 pounds in basically 3 months to be able to change some of the diets or do some sort of exercise and then continue to build upon that goal? And I'm hoping you don't hear the siren outside because I live in a very, very loud street. I'm hoping you don't, but if you do, that's okay. So the point I'm making is when you're thinking about the goals and being able to overcome self-doubt, imposter syndrome, the aspect of getting into smaller goals and feeling confident along the way is extremely important. One of the other topics, for example, is when you're looking to launch your own business. One of the biggest challenges that most people have when they launch their business, and if they've always been an employee, is the fact that they don't always take into consideration, or maybe they do, but they don't feel comfortable selling. And selling is a challenge for many people because it doesn't come always natural. And for some reason, we have like that old used car salesman in our head around how to sell. And selling doesn't have to be that way. Selling is just a matter of talking to people, and we all know how to be able to talk. But that becomes a very big blocker that people have when they're launching that particular business. I know people who can sell you a trash bag, and they have the gift of gab, but not many people have that. So it's finding that specific spot where you're comfortable with to be able to move forward and get to where you want to be. And hopefully that answers your question, Nicole. Now, the other thing I was going to say is when you're looking to change your habits, it's going to be okay to revert back temporarily. And the reason why I say it's okay is because we're human, right? So many times what happens is when you're trying to move forward, it's like one step forward, 2 steps back. But you have to be able to move forward. It's what exactly is the goal that you're trying to get to. And so reverting back naturally happens. Now, the question is not getting stuck into that old behavior. The question is really more around how do you continue to move forward in that momentum so that you can be able to get to the objective that you want. Sometimes when you revert back to old behavior, it may mean that you're not ready to change. It's not something that you're ready to do, or you don't want to. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to behavioral change, let's say if you're in a relationship or dating or friends, whatever behavior, and you see that there's a particular behavior that somebody else has and you want to change it, it's impossible. That person formed their personality in their cognitive development stages of life, which is around their teenage years, or even before that, by the way. But the point I'm making is some of these personality traits are well embedded by the time they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So think about the age. So depending on how old this person is, you're going to say, let's say the person is 32. I took a random number. If you want to change that person's behavior, let's say they're always late. Let's use that simple one. And you want to train them to be on time. It's going to be really hard to change that habit unless you're their boss. or unless you have some sort of authoritative, they're not going to change. But if they're your friend, they're not going to change. So these are certain things, and they may want to, by the way, but you have to get now comfortable. One of the tricks that I do with people that I know, friends that are always late, is I tell them that it's X hour, knowing that they're going to be a half hour late. So I trick them to be able to do that. And it's a couple of friends that I have that do that. So many people wonder how they're perceived, and this plays in the role in moving forward. Yes, I completely agree with you. When it comes to perception, this is the thing. Perception and how we interpret perception is really all about us letting somebody else down. And it's more around shame of failure. And so when we're talking about perception, we want to make sure that we're taking into context, is it really about them or is it really about me? And I think one of the things to consider, and this goes back to old habits and that noise about being able to change a habit that you have or reach the goals that you want to reach to, is the fact that you are, there's always going to be something that nags you, and you want to get down to the point of, is this really something that will stop you from reaching your goals? And if so, why? Why does that matter? I'll give an example where I started using TikTok and doing lives on TikTok. And this is from someone who is used to doing 3-hour lectures, 1-hour webinars. And this is a very informal, I would say, application to just kind of chat. Humbling experience. The point I'm making is, as I started to look at people that are on there who don't have a profile picture or any content, are bullying. Now, if I didn't have, that's a perception of what they believe of who I am. If I don't believe in myself, I would let that get to me. The thing is, the power is within your own hands. And this is something to keep in mind when we're talking about reverting habits or perception, or how that affects your behavior. You have the power. And if you allow someone else to affect you a certain way, then you have given up your power to that other person. Whether good or bad, you're allowing them to affect you. You control your own emotions, you control your own behavior. And so I kind of put that in context because in this example with the TikTok, there are a lot of people who have hundreds of thousands of followers. And all of a sudden, someone questions the validity of their credentials, and they're showing up their certifications. And by the way, I'm not judging them. It sounds like I'm judging them. That's not what I'm meaning to do. People are entitled to do what they want to do, but there's no reason to justify yourself to somebody that you don't know. Now, if somebody that you do know, that's a different story. And you're right, the power is in your hands. It's a very powerful reminder, absolutely. So, the other thing I was going to say is, if you really want it, you should keep going. Like, that's the most important part, is that you should keep going. Otherwise, you have to ask yourself, is this really what you want? My best guidance when it comes to behavioral change, and I've analyzed behavior as far as data around age, generational differences, especially when you're trying to implement technology. I'm not going to go down that path. But the point I'm getting at is, if you have a particular goal and you really want it, you have to continue to move forward towards reaching it. Otherwise, you have to ask yourself, is that really the right goal? That's why I say baby steps, because if you take smaller steps towards those goals, you're going to reach it. I will digress to a very quick story. The folks that are joining, indulge me in this one. As I said before, I struggled with weight. And it's not about me struggling with weight. There is a point to the story. And every year, I've always put a goal out to push myself to learn something new. And one year I went, I think it was skydiving, but I went anyway, that's the point. One year I woke up and I decided I want to do a triathlon. I'm not athletic. And the first time I went, I was a duathlon. Was a run, bike, run. And I'll try to speed up the story. several lessons that came out from that experience. The first one is because I've never really trained, the horn went off, and I'm like one of the last people, and nobody wants to be last. And so I'm running as fast as I can, and it's like 30 seconds in, and I have this whole race to do, and I realized I can't keep up. I'm not going to be able to keep up with the last person that's in front of me. I'm going to be the last one. And I switched my mindset that instead of being overwhelmed with the fact that I have to do this whole run around the park and then bike around the park and then run again, that I'm just going to look down. And what I did was I looked down and I made a mental shift. I looked down, I ran, I looked up, just make sure I don't trip over anyone, that I would, but I kept looking down. And the reason why I did that is so I could trick my brain to not get overwhelmed and a system shock of the fact that I have a lot to do before I finish this race. My goal was to just finish the race. And I realized at that point that the only person that I'm competing with is me, no one else. Same thing for you. There's always going to be somebody better than you, and there's always going to be somebody worse off than you. Unfortunately, what we tend to do is we only look at the people who are better than us. We don't look at the other people who are not better than us and that are looking up to us. So that's why I think that when you're thinking about behavioral change, and you're trying to get to your goals, you want to just keep going and finish. It doesn't matter when you finish. You can finish today, you can finish tomorrow, you can finish 5 years from now. The thing to keep in mind, and in that example, is I am running and biking against people who either genetically fit, people who have trained, and so I don't know where their starting point is. I only know mine. And so that's what's really important to think about is when you're trying to reach your goals and you're trying to focus on habitual change or changes of your own habits, it's going to take time. Most behavioral changes of yourself, let's say you gravitate to the negative thinking or allow others affect you and you want to change that about yourself, it takes 90 to 120 days for any change to sustainably happen. Otherwise, you're going to set yourself up for failure. It's why when you have any sort of addiction, it takes a long time to break off. This is why I pointed out earlier, when you think about the behavior that the person has been doing by the age that they're in. So in that example, 32, random number, don't know why I say 32, but if the person is 32, think about how many years that person has been doing that and how long it's going to take them for them to be able to change. So I don't know if there are any other questions, but I do want to give a little bit of a bonus and kind of share this other document. Like I said before, it's in actually the description. If you're on YouTube, if you go to the description itself, there's a free ebook that you can download, and I'll walk you through that in a minute. Hi there, Chris. And so one of the things I was going to say is that as you're thinking about this year and your specific goals that you're trying to get accomplished, find an accountability partner. One of the simplest tricks that you can ever do is if you get index cards. Get index cards, have your, or actually not, it's not index cards, sorry, I'm using my Spanish. Postcards, get postcards. I know it sounds very archaic, but get postcards, write your home address, and then write what goal you want to have had by certain dates. Give it to your accountability partner or friend and have them mail it. You need to make sure they do mail it. Have them mail it. So by the time let's say 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months have happened, you would have finished that goal. It's a reminder that this is a goal that you originally had for the beginning of the year. So that's a little trick. It's a little labor intensive. Maybe have them do an email, or you can do a scheduled email for yourself as a reminder. But regardless, the point is really going back and looking at having someone to say, hey, I said I was going to get to this point. Can you help me with this? The other thing also is this planner that I was going to share with you. I'm going to go into share it with you now. So I created this planner. Can you hold on? This looks really funky. Sorry. Let me change the background. So yeah, you go. So one of the things that I created, and it's free, you can print it out and you can use it online. And if you're a project manager, I have a hard copy book that I'll share with you in a minute, which is a little bit separate from this. This was specifically designed for this audience. And I don't know if you love newsletters. I publish newsletters. So if you go to professortirado.com/newsletter, you can sign up for that as well. So this particular planner just kind of sets up the stage and the tone as to what you need to think about. And when you're doing visualization, it's important to think about the music, the environment. You need a space to think, which is very important, and free from distractions. Like if you have to be somewhere and you're rushing to get to some point, you don't want to worry about the fact that you're rushing your thinking. This is time for you to invest in yourself and what you want. And many times what we wind up doing is worrying about others, which is great, but there's always that saying, in airplanes, you need to put the oxygen mask first before you put it on somebody else. And they think this is very important. And by the way, I'm talking to also those that are selfless, because there are selfish people that don't really care. They'll do it anyway. But this is for people who are selfless, who are always giving. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to invest in yourself. Otherwise, the taking care of others, it's going to always eat you up. So I designed this for that reason. Talking about the end in mind, like I said, you can download the ebook. You can enter it here. You can print it out. So it's a template here about what you want by the end of 2021. You list that all out. Then you have, and if you don't know what you want, I put a page in there as well for you to write notes or come up with some ideas just to jot down, and then some actions. So what do the actions look like? Dates, little checklist here. But I also included 2021 at a glance. And then this is actually a template that I do use with my clients, not the specific, it's usually portrait, no, landscape, sorry, landscape, but this is portrait because of the book. But I put it in here because I do think it's extremely valuable to kind of bucket what those goals look like: your health, your personal life, finances, career, other. And I highly recommend that you don't overwhelm yourself by putting 500 things in there. It's natural for us to create a laundry list. And by the way, you can, but when you're thinking about what you want to accomplish this year, you may want to scale it back just so that you can actually accomplish it and not get overwhelmed with it. And then I also included my month-by-month planner, which again, you can fill in on PDF. It's a fillable PDF. So, and I also added the 2022, I'm very optimistic, for January. And then that's pretty much it. So it's a very straightforward planner. Again, you can download it, go directly onto the description of the YouTube. And if you, or actually I can just share as well, where you can go to the link and download it yourself, which is this one, resources.professor.com/my 2021 goals. Feel free to use it. My email is in there. If you have questions or you need help with the visualization, I'm more than happy to help out. And then the other thing I was going to mention for my project managers, I also have created a book as well that's a planner. And this one is specifically has templates for project management. I'm going to do a whole session on project management planning. You don't have to be a project manager, by the way. It gives you everything that you need to be organized. It really lists out even risks that you may have in a particular project. And similar to that, it has printed out the calendar as well so that you can be able to do that. And more importantly, you're able to use this as a notebook so that you can take notes. You can find out, who you met with and so forth. So I'm very excited about it. I'm also going to translate it in Spanish for my fellow Spanish speakers. But that you can find in this link right here, go.professor.com/2021 notebook. I'm also going to make it in spiral and hard book. But anyway, that's enough of that. But I wanted to see if there were any other questions that you may have for me before we wrap up. Thank you. I'm glad that you love the planner. So I will stop for now, and it does not have to be a full hour. I just got on because one, I'm excited that the new year is here. I'm excited to be able to do this. A couple of things actually before we kind of wrap up. I am having many guests on Thursdays at 6 or 7, depending on the person's availability. Next week, I'm going to bring on someone that focuses on why hire a business coach. This person launched their own business during COVID. And then 2 weeks from now, we're going to have actually a TikTok coach. So this person started 6 months ago. I met him as a part of the research that I was doing on TikTok. I also publish on psychologytoday.com. And when I met him, he had about 200,000 followers. He's almost at 500,000. And all he does, and that's not, it sounds very minimal, but it's not. What he produces is content on how to grow your TikTok account and how to create engaging content in less than 60 seconds. And that's tough. I've been trying to do that. Sometimes I come across a little boring than I want to, but hey, it is what it is. But I'm going to have more people, so please stay tuned. So if you haven't really followed, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also follow me, especially on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the lovely different platforms that exist. And let me just see right here. Yeah. Feel free to follow on any of those platforms. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. I want to make sure that you know that I'm a resource here for you. My content is all about career advancement and tips on what you can do to advance your career. But it's also if you're looking to transform from being an entrepreneur, from an employee to an entrepreneur, and what you may want to think about as to how to go about being able to succeed and set yourself up for success. It's all about your mental state and your mental mind frame. And always remember that you can do it if you want to do it. You have one life to live. Make it happen. If there aren't any questions, I am going to say thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. And again, if there are any questions, just feel free to reach out directly on any of these platforms. So can you please repeat your Thursday calls? Yes. So I will be, if you follow me on Instagram, I publish all the upcoming guests live streams that I'm having. So please follow me. It's at Professor Tirado. You'll see it down here. In case you don't, let me just shut this off so you can see it down here. So I do post when I'm interviewing someone on my Instagram account as well as on Twitter. I don't think everyone is on TikTok. And then the other thing I was going to say, so the next Thursday, I'm going to have someone on focusing on basically hiring a business coach. Why hire a business coach? What are the advantages of hiring a business coach if you're looking to open up your own business? The next one is a TikTok coach, and I'm actually going to be interviewing an author of a very well-published book, which I can't say because I'm actually meeting them tomorrow. And so keep an eye out. And as far as having a list of all my upcoming live streams, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm actually revamping my website so that this kind of information is easy to access. Sorry, it's my accent. To be easy to access. So again, if you have any questions, actually stop for a second because I did ramble on relatively fast. Any other questions, anyone? No? Well, thank you again for joining. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone who interacted tonight. I really appreciate it. It's always great to get some feedback. And hopefully one day we can be able to see each other. It's something I'm getting accustomed to is just being able to use chat. Have a great evening. Have a great rest of the, actually, it is the rest of the week. It's Thursday, Friday. So have a great weekend and have a great week next week. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.